Hi, everyone. Welcome to our CAPS Coaches Chalk Talk. And my name is Bailey Rodriguez, and I'm the program manager for the Giants Community Fund. And we're so excited to have you today. So while you are waiting for our special guest from Positive Coaching Alliance and Gabe Kapler, our Giants manager, please put any questions for PCA or for Gabe in the Facebook comments, and we will save those for when they begin. So we just wanted to start off with an overview of our topics. So we're going to cover in the beginning why you should volunteer with Junior Giants, what Junior Giants provides during the season, the season preview, and also some just basic coaching basics and best practices. And then, like we said, Positive Coaching Alliance, as well as our special guest, San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler, will be joining us for the second part of the call. So for all of you, we just wanted to say up front, thank you so much for helping bring Junior Giants to life. And this program would not exist without you. We make all the plans in the office, but all those kids on the field in your community are never going to meet me or my coworkers. They're going to see you as their coach, and that is the face of Junior Giants to them. So thank you so much for spending your nights and weekends and your summers out on the field with our Junior Giants teams. And you really make this possible. So just one volunteer can make it possible to have a whole team of 15 Junior Giants players who can play baseball or softball for free this summer. And you can make a lasting impact on their lives. So think back on the most meaningful coach or teacher that you had or mentor, and you can be that person to these kids on your team this summer. So we just wanted to quickly go over what we provide for all of our participants. So for you as a coach, we provide a word of the week pack for you, which has everything you need to lead your team. It includes practice plans for you to follow, which we'll show in a minute. And also the fun part is the kids earn lots of incentives like a water bottle. They earn a baseball card every week of the season. They earn a Logan Webb bobblehead at the end of the season, and then a prize for a reading program. So knowing that this program is so much more than just baseball and softball, but the kids are learning important life lessons beyond the field as well. The families receive a season roadmap to guide them through each word of the week. There is a special scholarship that only Junior Giants players can apply for. So that's really amazing. And then, of course, Giants tickets for you as a coach, for the kids on your team. And then we have an awesome Junior Giants app, which we will go through in a second, that really can help guide everyone through the season as well. So just wanted to show these are where you can find our practice plans on the Junior Giants app. If you go to the app, click on Coach's Corner, click on Practice Plans, and then it shows there's a practice plan for every week of the season. And then once you open it up, you'll see word of the week kind of scripts that you can lead your players through, and it's age specific. So whether you have 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds, you can ask them questions that are age appropriate that are related to the word of the week. And then we have it broken down skills and drills for each age group as well, and 2 pages for each age division. So you know exactly, spend 10 minutes on warming up, spend 10 minutes on this throwing drill, spend 15 minutes on this base running drill. So really even if you've never coached before or never played baseball or softball before, you can follow these practice plans and be able to know what to do with your team. So we can teach you all the specifics. All you have to come in with is basically a good attitude and willingness to learn, and we'll help with all the rest. So if you scan the QR codes on the screen, that will take you to the download links for the Junior Giants app, whether you have an Apple or an Android phone. And then just wanted to reiterate this once again, if you want to scan the QR code now or take a screenshot of this and you can get back to it later, but the first one will show you where to find the practice plans. It'll take you directly to the practice plans on the app. If you don't have the app yet, it'll just open it in your internet's browser on your phone. So it's really easy and you can take a look at what those look like. And then once again, the links to download the app so that you can have a successful season this summer. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Nicole, and she can talk a little bit more about the Junior Giants season.
Great. Thanks, Bailey. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Cacciatorian. I'm our program director. I've been with the Giants Community Fund for 13 seasons now, and I'm excited to be working with all of you this season. I'm going to be in your shoes as well. My daughter has just turned T-ball age, so I will be coaching out on the field for the first time as well. And something that we wanted to highlight was Junior Giants is really, it's more than just baseball and softball. We really try to take this time with our Junior Giants to teach them lessons that they will take with them far beyond the field and into their lives. So on the screen, you'll see a season preview. Our league runs from June 12th to August 5th for the majority of our leagues. We do have about 86 leagues across California, a little bit into Nevada and Oregon as well. And there are some variations in timing, but for the most part, our leagues run from June 12th to August 5th. The first week, everyone's going to focus on introduction to Junior Giants. So like Bailey mentioned, in the practice plans, you will see all the things that we want you to talk with your team about. So introducing them to Junior Giants, telling them what we're going to focus on, what we're going to learn this summer. Then you'll see in week 2, we move on to health, and we focus on healthy eating and nutrition and how to fuel our bodies to make sure that we are the best players we can be on the field. And then week 3, we move into strikeout bullying and focus on what our communities would look like if it were free of bullying and they participate in an art contest that week. Week 4, we focus on education and specifically on reading. So we want to make sure that our Junior Giants are reading throughout the summer and not losing the skills that they learned during the school year, and that they are ready to take those skills into their next grade level. Week 5 through 8, we focus on our 4 bases of character development. And these are really the crux of Junior Giants and what we focus on. That's confidence, teamwork, leadership, and integrity. So it's things we're trying to build and teach our players throughout the season. And you will have your word of the week talks in your practice plans to help you emphasize these. Most coaches will do that at practice and then re-emphasize it at the game day. Okay, some basics on coaching and volunteering. So some of the expectations for this season, we ask that you please be on time. Please be consistent. The players and the kids they're counting on you to be that consistent presence. So please make sure that you're there as much as you can be. And if you're not able to be there, that you have coverage so that all the practices and all the games have somebody there to lead the team. Keep a positive attitude on and off the field. As we mentioned, Junior Giants is non-competitive. So it's really important that we're coming with positive attitudes. We are cheering for all the kids and making sure that we are emphasizing teamwork. Okay, some other volunteering basics. So as you saw, today's call is called the CAPS Coaches Chalk Talk, and that's because we have a CAPS Coaches program that's named after our Giants manager, Gabe Kapler, and it's to become a certified CAPS coach. So if you become a certified CAPS coach, you get that little drawstring backpack that has the CAPS Coaches logo on it. So the steps that you need to take to become a CAPS coach are register and pass your background check. So register to volunteer, pass your background check, complete Junior Giants University, and we have one that's called Volunteers 101. So that will cover all the basics of volunteering, and then take the abuse awareness course, as well as attend your league's volunteer meeting and coaches clinic. So for the coaches clinic and volunteer meeting, you can find all of that information directly from your agency that's running your Junior Giants program. And then the other components you'll find in our app. So it will have the link to the volunteer meeting and the abuse awareness course as well. Okay, and then one last note on volunteering basics before we address some of the questions that have come in on the comments. We wanted to tell all of our coaches that there is a award called the Willie Mack Award, and that is for one coach and one player or team parent. So one volunteer and one player from each league that is chosen by the league commissioner. And that's someone who best exemplifies our 4 bases of character development: leadership, teamwork, confidence, and integrity. Those winners are recognized at Oracle Park during a Giants game, as well as they're invited to a special luncheon after the season where we get to honor them and thank them, and they receive a personalized bat. So this is just to tell you that this is something that to keep in mind. If you have a player on your team that you think is deserving of this award, please let your league commissioner know. And that to let you know that the league commissioners will also be keeping an eye on all the volunteers and see who's the best fit for this award. So let me address some of the comments that have come in on Facebook. One of them was, how long should the practices be? We say 1 hour. The practice plans are built to an hour. This is a non-competitive league, so in some cases, 1 hour might not be enough for some of the older kids, and you can make adjustments if you want, so it's really up to you. But we typically say that the practices are 1 hour. You can go up to 90 minutes if you feel like that's necessary. One of the other questions was that someone was still waiting on their background check to clear. How long does that usually take? It depends on which county you live in. All the counties take a different amount of time for the background checks to clear. It typically shouldn't take, it usually takes about 2 to 3 days, 1 to 3 days, sometimes up to a week. If you've been waiting longer than that, I would follow up with your league commissioner and have them follow up. It might be that something's not entered correctly, whether it's your birth date or the way that your name is spelled, that might be taking a little bit longer. Or if you have a very common name, it sometimes takes a longer time too. And then we are seeing a lot of comments come in about schedules and when you should get them. You should be getting them this week directly from your league agency. So here at the Giants Community Fund, we partner with all the different agencies across California and into Nevada and Oregon to run our Junior Giants program. So the schedules and teams are determined directly in the city that you live in. So for the most part, it's park and rec departments, but there's also some other agencies like police activities leagues, sheriff's activity leagues that run our programs. You're always welcome to reach out to us at the Giants Community Fund if you need to get connected with the right people in your city. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to our first guest speaker. So I'd like to welcome Aaron Weintraub. He is our coach trainer from Positive Coaching Alliance today. He's been with PCA since 2012. He's also coached baseball at the University of Virginia and other colleges for 15 years. He wrote leadership training for softball. He's also a mental skills coach and husband and father of 5. So we're grateful for Aaron for being with us today, as well as our partnership with Positive Coaching Alliance. So please welcome Aaron. And after Aaron, we will close out today with a visit from Gabe Kapler. So stay tuned. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Nicole, and thank you, coaches, for volunteering for this work. It's difference-making work. The reality is that baseball and softball can destroy a kid's confidence and teach terrible teamwork. And it's because of you and the partnership you form with the parents on your team that the diamond becomes a vehicle to accelerate their maturity and cause this to be a positive, fun, learning, and growing experience. Baseball and softball are honest in a way that some other things in an 8-year-old's life are not. And so it really is because of your mentorship that it becomes such a positive experience. So thank you for volunteering. You're going to be the first one there, the last one to leave. PCA really wants to triple your salary today, which is not too impactful, but your time is impactful. And I don't want you to ever forget that it makes a huge difference in the lives of these young people. Okay, so from PCA, we're big into positive coaching. That's not going to surprise you, but we're also big into competition. Even when you're not keeping score, we want you to compete effectively with yourselves and to learn to compete in life through baseball and softball. And so we're going to talk about the mechanics and some details for how that can happen. And if you're an expert in baseball or softball, that's great, but you don't have to be to make a difference. What you should be is intellectually honest about what you do know and don't know. And if you need more information about how to separate the stride from the swing and hit an off-speed pitch, I'm sure you can find that by asking the right questions around the right people. PCA has been around since 1998. And we're dedicated to changing the culture of youth sports in America to create better athletes, better people. And we like to start with this reflective question. It's going to follow up with a why question, but I want you to think about a coach or a mentor from your childhood who inspired you when you were younger, and how did they do it? And I'm going to take this opportunity to share with you my answer to this question. I don't normally do this, but today happens to be June 5th, which is my dad's birthday. It's the first birthday that he's not with us. He would have been 80 years old today. And he was inspiring because of unconditional love and because of relentless optimism. he always said we were rich, even though we didn't have very much money. And he always showed gratitude for his family and the opportunities that we had to play music, play sports, and just have a relatively comfortable life in America. And that optimism is shared by my brother and I even after his passing. So I wanted to share that. So thanks for allowing me to do that. Jason Weintraub was a beautiful man. The follow-up question for you, now that you've thought about who inspired you and how did they do it, I bet you remember that person's name. I bet you remember that they cared about you as an individual. Now I want you to think about, why do you coach? Maybe your spouse told you to, maybe the league begged you to, but also I bet it's because you want to share a passion for the game. You want to make a difference. You want to support these young people on their journey. And sometimes in the dugout, coaches can behave in a way, not anywhere associated with Giants Community Fund, but in Los Angeles where I'm at, or in the East, sometimes coaches act the fool. And it's usually because they get too caught up in the scoreboard and they get over emotional about something that's happening on the field, and they're losing sight of their why. So we encourage you at PCA to keep that why in mind as you go through the challenges of coaching young people. PCA is guided by the science of sports psychology, which I would define as the study of what successful athletes do. We also have an amazing national advisory board. We'll put a link to that full list of advisory board members in the comments below. But there's some pretty great and famous athletes, coaches, and sports psych researchers on that board. We've been doing these workshops. We formed, Jim Thompson, our founder, came from Stanford and has been doing this, impactfully, pretty wide swath of America over the last 25 years. Not surprisingly, we think that positive reinforcement is a big deal, something you have to grasp to be a successful coach. We didn't say to be a successful youth coach. We said just to be a successful coach. Now, culture is something that you're going to have. Every team has a culture. And the question becomes, if culture is the way we do things here, is that going to be shaped by the loudest kid on the team and the default American focus on the scoreboard? Or are we going to shape our culture with intention and what we keep track of, what we give awards to, what we talk about more? Because if you spend time on it, it becomes important to your players. So I want you to think about, what are some priorities of the culture you want to have on your team? Maybe things like teamwork, best effort, just think about growth and fun. If you ask the kids what do they want, the number one answer on the board is to have fun. And what's not fun about playing baseball and softball is standing around. So whether you get an hour and a half in your games, you want to find ways to make it fun, because softball, honestly, when you're 7 years old, can be kind of boring. And it's up to the coaches to be creative and find ways to keep them moving, because it's fun to run, it's fun to throw, it's fun to hit, but it's not so much fun to stand in line. So good luck. It's not easy. There's lots of resources available to you to help you make it a fun culture. At PCA, we like the word development. And that development zone culture is influenced by everyone. The leadership, your board of directors at your league, certainly the coaches are where the rubber hits the road, but parents play a huge role as well. And when we say a second goal parent, well, if the double goal coach has these two goals of trying to win and teach life lessons, even in a non-competitive league, then the second goal parent, we want them to leave the efforts to compete effectively to the players and coaches and just help their children absorb life lessons. And so hopefully you can find a great partnership with your parents where they're supporting that and helping you get to that magic ratio of emotional tank fillers to tank drainers, because sometimes that car ride home can be the toughest time in the baseball or softball experience for the young people. The athletes also play a huge role, and we want to teach them to have a positive impact on themselves, their teammates, and the game. We call that being a triple impact competitor. Now, today, of course, we're going to talk specifically about being a double goal coach and trying to win and teach life lessons. In the long run, teaching life lessons and teaching winning are the same. In the short run, you may have to choose which is more important. And even though Giants Community Fund says this is a non-competition league, those players, they're going to keep track of how many runs you score. And in the short run, you may have to make a decision about what's most important. So certainly at PCA, we would encourage you in that moment of decision to make teaching life lessons the most important short-term goal. Kind of set the stage here. Remember your why. Look for those teachable moments. An hour is not much time, and you're going to get them. It's worth spending 60 seconds on them to ask, how does this apply off the diamond? And to have some sort of character development lesson of the day or recap at the end of the day. It's hard to get all the things done on your list, but let's not lose sight of those teachable moments for life lessons at any point during the process. And in the dugout, as you go and as you're playing the game, talk them up. Don't assume that they connect all the dots, because some of them won't. And so the more you're explaining what you're thinking about, the more they're learning about how to win at baseball and at life. Okay, the three principles of double goal coaching are the elm tree of mastery, filling the emotional tanks, and honoring the game. That's the outline of everything that follows. And I want to start this thought process about the elm tree of mastery with a question. What percentage of the time is your best effort good enough? Not for your team to score more runs than the other team, not for your team at all, for you in your life. What percentage of the time is your best effort good enough? For you to answer that question, you have to think about good enough for what? And when you do that, it reflects how you define success. Now, as a mental skills coach, I'm skeptical of a student athlete that tells me 100%. I think it's great if they believe that their best effort is always good enough. And I try to convince my children of that by telling them over and over and over, your best effort's good enough. I have identical twins. One of them seems to believe me and the other doesn't. She's a perfectionist. She's always comparing herself to others. And it is very difficult for her to take this, I don't know, maybe it's an Eastern meditative yogi idea that your best effort is always good enough, but really all you can control is all you can do. And so if we get them to focus on mastery, to try to answer the question, how good can you get at this game? Then they're going to get better faster. They're going to stay positive through mistakes better. They're going to be a better influence on their peers. They're going to have more persistence. So there are huge benefits to this mastery mindset. That win at all cost perspective is normal, but it actually leads to winning less. If we want them to win more, we want to shift the focus away from results and towards effort. We want to stop comparing with others and start comparing with self. Make learning more important than today's statistics. And in that win at all cost mindset, and if you watch the body language of your kids, you often will see the idea that mistakes are not okay. As adults, we can say, look, the game is hard. Kapler's rookies are making rookie mistakes, but they've been playing the games for 20 years and they're the best of the best. So of course our kids are going to make mistakes if they're trying to find out how good they can be. Still, there's usually an emotional letdown when that mistake happens. And so we want to try to convince them that mistakes are okay. Not okay and that just go ahead and make it again, but okay because it means you're challenging yourself. Fail full speed. Let's learn from it and then move on, which is really easy to say and really hard to do. The elm tree of mastery is right there on the right side of your screen. Focus on effort and learning, and remember that mistakes are okay. This allows us to control the controllables. And on the diamond, that's so hard to do. If you ask your pitcher, what are you trying to do? In a mound visit in the middle of the inning, you've got the bases loaded. They're going to say, I'm going to try to strike him out or get an out. But controlling the controllables means I'm just trying to throw the ball aggressively through my target. For hitters, I'm trying to see a strike and take a good swing. But what they're thinking is I'm trying to get on base and score runs. And that's not wrong. It's just not the best way to think about controlling the controllables. And so let's help them by focusing on effort and learning and identifying what can you control and what's outside of your control. I'm curious if you've heard of Carol Dweck out of Stanford and her book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. She's done great research about the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. And I want to share one of those studies with you because what we believe about learning has a huge impact on how much and how well we learn. She and other researchers have shown that definitively, and it's logical too. It's not that surprising that a growth mindset that says I can always get better if I work hard and find great strategies for my work. So working hard and working smart will always cause an improvement. And that the research has shown that to be true, not only in baseball skills, but in artistic ability, personality, everything you can think of. And the reality is that we all hold somewhat of a fixed mindset. Yeah, that's just the way I am in some areas of our lives. So we want to really promote a growth mindset. I want you to pay attention on this one research study using fifth graders as subjects, how huge the difference was in these fifth graders based on one single difference in feedback they got from an adult in the room.
Check this out. Carol Dweck and her colleagues wanted to look into the impacts that praise had on children's development. So what they did is they took over 400 fifth grade students from all across the nation, and they did a really simple yet interesting study. They gave all the kids a really easy non-verbal IQ test. There were 10 questions, and at the end of the test, they praised all the children in one of two ways. The first group was praised for their intelligence. So they said, "Wow, great job, you must be really smart at this." Now the second group was praised for their effort. So they said, "Wow, great job, you must have worked really hard at this." Now this is a really subtle difference, but the impact it had is incredible. So after praising the kids and getting them divided up into the two groups, they gave them all an option for their next test. The first option was, hey, this next test is going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to be a great opportunity to learn and grow. Now the second option was, this next test will be similar to the first and you will surely do well on it. Now the interesting thing is, out of the group that was praised for their intelligence, 67% of them chose the easier option, while 92% of the kids who were praised for their effort chose the harder test. Next, Dweck and her colleagues gave all the kids a really difficult test. It was one that they would surely fail, but they wanted to look at how the different kids attacked this challenge. Dweck noticed that the group that was praised for effort worked harder, longer, and actually enjoyed this test more than the group that was praised for their intelligence. This group got really frustrated with this test and had the tendency to give up early. After this artificially induced failure round, all of the kids were given a third and final test. Now this test was the same level of difficulty as the first one, but check out the results. The group that was praised for their intelligence actually did worse on this test than the first one. Their average score actually dropped by 20%, while the group that was praised for their effort did significantly better, raising their average score by nearly 30%.
All right, so pretty impressive
Check this
impact. And so when we think about that on the diamond, if a child makes a great play, certainly we want to celebrate that. But if we say, great play, you're so talented, it's positive, but it's actually going to reinforce a fixed mindset. So what we want to say instead is great play, and then attribute it to something controllable, whether it's your hard work is really paying off, or if we're not sure if they've been working hard, maybe we attribute it to their focus and aggressiveness, things like that. And this really does, over the course of time, make a huge impact on their mindset. And so, we really want to focus on controlling the controllables, and that elm tree of mastery helps us to do that. Focus on effort, learning, and remember that mistakes are okay. That mistake ritual also is a way, especially if you have kids that get really down after a mistake and hang on to it, and they're they're distracted from the task at hand because they're still upset about the mistake. A mistake ritual is really useful. Maybe it's the physical motion of flushing the toilet. I'm not sure if you can see that, but maybe it's for mine, I would grab some dirt, or if I'm indoors, some imaginary dirt, and I go, dang it, but nobody's perfect, and then I throw it away. And because I've done it so many times, there's a link in my brain between this motion and refocusing on the next play or the task at hand. Even if that link isn't formed yet, it indicates that we're trying. So even with 6-year-olds, you can have a mistake ritual, something, brush it off, Taylor Swift, or something, a physical indication that I'm going to let the pass go and refocus on the task at hand. So that's a tool for your coach's toolbox. It takes a few minutes to explain the first time, but then it actually saves you time, because instead of talking about let it go, you can just non-verbally give them the sign and then watch them do it back. Or you can look to see if they remember to do it after a mistake. And it's really a great thing to see when they learn to use that mistake ritual and stay present to the task at hand. Rewarding unsuccessful effort does not mean that we want to celebrate it when they do poorly. It means when they do something well, but they're still out as a hitter, we want to make a big deal about it. And maybe they're hesitating to swing, and then when they do finally swing, they swing and miss. If we make a huge deal about how happy we are about them swinging, then they're going to want to do it again. And so we really want to reward anytime they give great effort. But if they hit a home run, they're already getting rewarded, right? And so when it's an unsuccessful quote, that's when we really want to make a big deal about it. Okay, great. There's your mastery toolkit about the elm tree of mastery and nurturing a growth mindset. Our second principle is filling emotional fuel tanks. And this is an analogy that makes a lot of sense to the kids, to the student athletes. And it's really based, this idea of an emotional fuel tank's importance, it's based on this quote from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. If you think about that mentor who made a difference in your life, think about how they made you feel. If everything else is equal in the car, you're certainly going to get a lot farther if you've got more fuel in the tank. And when we talk about performance on the field, when you got a full tank, you're a better influence on your teammates, you're more aggressive, you're more receptible to feedback, you're more coachable when you've got a full tank, and you play better, you're confident. So it really makes a huge deal. And again, I shouldn't get too upset with some of the norms here in Southern California, but I do get frustrated as a trainer for PCA and someone who spent a lot of time on the diamond. I get frustrated when my kids' coaches feel like their expertise in baseball or softball makes them the perfect coach. Because what's even a bigger deal than their expertise about throwing and hitting mechanics is their ability to fill emotional fuel tanks of the players. And some coaches, as you've probably seen in your life, really struggle with this. So let's talk about how to do it. Let's talk about first leading by example. Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's. My graduate school mentor at Virginia said, attitudes are contagious, make yours worth catching. You're the coach, and how you walk through the gate onto the field makes a big deal. So based on that, I put together a test for you. And this test, well, it's not a Rorschach test. I wouldn't do that to you. I'm a mental skills coach trying to help individuals and coaches, athletes be the best version of themselves more consistently. So I'm not going to give you a Rorschach test. I'm not a psychologist. I'm going to give you this other test that has just one question. The question is, tell me, what do you see in these figures? Now, I can't hear you right now, but I can imagine some of the things you're saying because I've asked a lot of people this question. What do you see in these figures? If you're as old as me, maybe you see Space Invaders. If you're not that creative, maybe you see a sideways hat and an arrow. If you're really creative, you might come up with all sorts of things, and none of them are wrong, but only one of them is kind of the point of the test. The one answer that I'm looking for here is fly. Do you see the word fly? Some of you do, but those of you that don't, do you see it now? Yeah, I think you do. Those are the same figures, just without the line at the top and the bottom. And if you think about the question before you saw the word fly, was it there? It's tempting to say no, but the truth is it was there. You just didn't see it right away. The reason is because we have a frame of reference, a normal way of looking at this thing. And on a white background, we tend to look at what's in black. I created a second frame of reference by talking about a Rorschach test, which is ink blots and creativity. But the actual question I asked was, what do you see in these figures? And now it's probably hard not to see the word fly. The point is that you can change the way you look at things. And when you do that, it changes your attitude. So when Johnny's in right field playing with the dirt, don't see it as a problem, see it as a challenge. And whatever the situation is, here's my challenge to you. Don't get frustrated. Man, that is hard to do in the dugout when you're coaching. But these are kids. They're going to make mistakes. The umpires are going to make mistakes. Sometimes the ball's going to take a bad bounce. And if you remember your why and the difference you're making in the young people's lives, I'll tell you the hardest way for me to not get frustrated. I have a son who's autistic. He's 21 years old and he's high functioning. And sometimes he seems really normal, but he's not. His brain works very differently than mine does. And so empathy is challenging. And when he doesn't behave, it's really easy to get frustrated. But then I try to catch myself. I try to apply these principles of positive coaching and keep myself in the right place so that I can be a good influence on others. Here's a challenge for you. When an umpire misses a call and it goes against your team, why is that good? Now, some of you are thinking, well, that's not good. And I'm not saying it's not bad, but we all know why it's bad. And another mentor of mine named Harvey Dorfman, great author of The Mental Game of Baseball, he said adversity is good for you as long as you literally survive. I think he said it came from Nietzsche. And well, this is a teaching moment. This is an opportunity for us to respond positively to adversity. So thank you, Mr. Umpire, for providing us with challenging circumstances like your lack of eyesight so that we can practice controlling the controllables and giving our best effort on the only pitch that matters, the next one. Now, I appreciate it if you're laughing right now. But it's not funny because I'm kidding. It's funny because that's so far from a normal response. Let's use it as a teachable moment to practice dealing with the fact that life's not fair. Okay, easy to say, hard to do. Now that we've set the stage with our great attitude, let's talk about what drains and what fills the tank of the kids. And what drains the tank is sarcasm, exclusion, ignoring, negative body language, correction. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do correction. You're a coach. And so certainly it's a huge part of your role to guide them on how to make good adjustments to play better ball. But what fills the tank? Well, correction can go on that list too. Certainly truthful and specific praise. Really, any praise is going to fill their tank? Usually. But if you just say good job, they may disagree and just think to themselves, no, it wasn't. When you say good job moving your feet, getting in front of that ground ball and fielding it from the ground up, there's no argument. That's going to fill their tank. So truthful and specific praise. You can force yourself into this one by saying, I loved it when I saw you, and now you've got to finish the sentence. A great tool in your coaching toolbox. When you create that sense of belonging, I even hesitate to ask this question, but have you ever been on a team at work, at school, anywhere, a team where you didn't really feel a part of the we? The reality is culture is the way we do things here. Let's try to make everyone feel a part of the we. A great strategy for that one, I heard on one of these PCA calls. The coach went up to every player at some time in the first couple of weeks and pulled him aside and said, Johnny, I'm just really glad I get to have you on my team this season, or something to that effect. And if Johnny's the best player on the team, he's probably thinking, yeah, you're lucky. But if he's the worst player on the team, he's probably thinking, really? Wow, that's pretty cool. And so let's make them feel seen and heard and valued. Let's coach with empathy and make that connection and help them feel a part of the we. Okay, so one more piece on this page that I want to touch on, and that's correction being on both lists. I think, and we just at PCA, we like the word correction. You've probably often heard it referred to as constructive criticism, same thing, maybe just a little more positive spin to call it correction. I think correction is usually a tank drainer, but I do think there are things you can do to increase your chances that it can be a tank filler, because it can be. If you communicate the correction with optimism, that you're just simply trying to help, and you think this feedback could help them get more of what they want on the field, I think you've got a chance. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I think it increases your chances. Certainly the timing of the feedback, the tone of your voice, the setting. Are you giving them correction in front of all of their peers? We like to say praise in public, correct in private. That's not always true, because I mean, the correction that you're giving to Johnny, probably everyone else on the team can benefit from hearing that too. So it's a judgment call. When to say it, where to say it, how to say it. These all make a huge difference. And one more thing that increases your chances for correction being a tank filler: fill their emotional fuel tank before you get to the correction. We talk about the magic ratio of 5 emotional tank fillers. That doesn't mean you have to say 5 nice things and then provide the correction. No, over the course of time, create an environment where verbally and non-verbally, from teammates, assistant coaches, head coaches, and parents, these kids are getting their emotional fuel tank filled 5 times by other humans for every 1 time they're getting it drained. That's not easy, but that relationship building between you and the player, I think, really increases your chances for that correction to be received with the optimism of which you intend. This 5-to-1 ratio, it comes from research. John Gottman studied what marriages last and which ones don't, and he found that 5-to-1 was the sweet spot for longevity in marriage. So there you go, free marital advice from PCA. They also studied the verbals of John Wooden and some other great coaches, and it's not fluff. Kids will see right through it if you try to fill their tank with fluff. It has to be truthful, but we want to look for positives that we can celebrate and attribute them to controllables. Some other strategies for helping you get to 5-to-1. The buddy system is where you pair your players up and you have them coach each other, but only on the things their buddy is doing well. Positive charting is where you have a roster and a chart and things that you're looking for. And as you see them, you mark them off on your clipboard, and then you share that list at some later time. I like to keep that chart at practice, put it in my back pocket, and then for warm-ups before our next game, I'll share that list from Wednesday night's practice to fill their emotional tank and try to get them started from a good place. Winner's circle is where you have everyone maybe at the end of practice, but have everyone circle up and say one nice thing about a teammate. There's a lot of different ways you can do this with a theme, or they have to talk about the person on their right. But you get them looking for good things to say about each other, and then maybe the coach goes last to fill in any potential gaps. Action step number 2 today is to foster positivity and fill those emotional fuel tanks. It's easy to say and hard to do, but the one thing we at PCA think most coaches across the country can do differently to be better coaches is simply get closer to that 5-to-1 magic ratio. Okay, we're coming down the home stretch, and I know you're waiting for the manager himself to be here, but I do want to talk about principle number 3, honoring the game. And this one is maybe what PCA is best known for. The reality is that the people at PCA, we're very competitive, and this stuff works not only at the youth level, but a lot of our national advisory board members. Steve Kerr is one of them. And we have a great video of him in game being mic'd up and filling his emotional tank when he could say, you're getting out hustled out there. What he says instead is match their energy. They're fighting for the playoffs in that particular quote. And he's great. And another thing I get out of that video is he really builds up Steph Curry. And I'm like, man, if that guy needs someone to build his confidence, then we all do, because he's literally the best shooter in the world. Okay, so back to honoring the game by modeling and teaching respect. There's your PCA acronym for this action step. We want to model and teach respect for the rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. And I want to challenge you right now to think about which one of these is toughest for you to consistently model respect. For the players, when we ask them, they often say self. And I've got a question that you might use for your own son or daughter. Maybe you even use it for other players on the team. But as a mental skills coach, I often ask, how well did you talk to yourself with dignity and respect today? As if talking to your best friend about something really important, even if you disagree. And you can put a number on that. From 1 to 10, what is your dignity and respect number? I call it your DNR number. And without awareness, no adjustment. But once they've thought about that and they realize they're not coaching themselves very effectively, then they can adjust and learn to talk to themselves with more dignity and respect in any circumstance, even after a mistake. We want to respect our teammates who will sometimes do things we don't like. But instead of getting mad, we want to get curious. It doesn't rhyme, but it's a good thing to remember. Don't get mad, get curious. We want to respect the rules. We want to respect opponents. Let's try not to compete against the opponents. Let's compete with them and celebrate as we all try to be the best version of ourselves. And we want to respect the officials. So here's a scenario for you. The opposing coach has been riding the officials the entire game, and it seems to be working. Now, in the final moments of a close game, the official makes a horrible call and it goes against your team. What do you do? Now, if we had more time, we might spend more time on that scenario. But what we want you to do is honor the game, respect the roots. We want you to maybe say nothing or maybe do narrated modeling where you explain your thought process calmly to your players. Hey, I'm not going to go out and argue about that call. I'm not going to say anything about it because it wouldn't do any good. They're not going to change it. And what's important for us to do is to let that go and compete on the next pitch. So that's narrated modeling. Self-control routine. If you do feel yourself getting elevated, take a deep breath, turn your back. It's a great learning opportunity for them to see you practicing a self-control routine. And maybe in that routine, that gathering includes reflecting back on your why. Is a great time to remember your why for coaching. Action 3 is the model and teach honoring the game. And before Cap gets on here, I've got a couple of things I want to ask of you, and then we'll see if we have time for any questions. Those are our action steps. Nurture a growth mindset. Remember that elm tree of mastery. Foster positivity by trying to get closer to that 5-to-1 magic ratio, and model and teach respect. I can come back to the video if we have time, but a couple of final action steps here, and then we'll see. Youth sports is a virtual classroom for life lessons with an endless procession of teachable moments, but only if coaches recognize and seize them. That comes from Jim Thompson, our founder. And at PCA, we want to leave you with some resources. First of all, that crisis text line on the right side of your screen, that's not a PCA thing. But if suicide is more of an issue once they get to puberty. And a lot of your kids, hopefully aren't struggling with that. But any mental health issue, kids think asking for help is a sign of weakness. And we want to teach them that it's a sign of strength. And we want them to be aware that they can text 741-741 and text the word home to that number. And they'll be connected to a local professional that will guide them by text at first and then more if needed. That's not a PCA resource, but it's a trusted resource and something we want to increase awareness of. When you do the sign in, right now, I'm going to ask you to send a text message with your phone and sign in. You're going to get those talking point emails. We're never going to share your email address or your phone number with anyone. We're never going to use your phone number except to send you a text message immediately back that says, thank you for attending today's workshop. And we'll also put a couple of links for PCA into the comments below so that you can stay connected to PCA. I'm looking for those links right now, but let me put this up on the screen and ask you for two more things. One, if you want to give feedback, we'll put a Survey Monkey into the chat. And I want to ask you to send a 3-line text message so that we can send you those talking point emails. I'm going to say it slowly so that you, if you're attending on your phone, you can actually send the text message right now. And then I'm going to turn it over to Cap. I'm looking forward to hearing from him myself. But we want to stay connected with you. Alliance is the most important word in our name. So please send a 3-line text message right now to phone number 650-763-2405. In the body of the text message, the first thing is that number sign, 151111. If it doesn't have the pound sign or the number sign, it won't go through. The second line is your name, and the third line is your email address. That code for this particular workshop, again, is pound 151111. The last thing for me is to tell you something really important, coaches. So listen up. This is where I remind you that you're capable of making outstanding achievements your reality, including an ideal focus on the task at hand, staying positive through adversity, and approaching your potential as a mentor. These are not easy goals. They won't be achieved overnight. But if you remember to have fun, trust your instincts, and take it one step at a time, you'll be well on your way. Thanks so much from PCA and from all of us for your service to these young people.
Much. I know I personally got a lot out of that conversation and learned a lot to help my own Junior Giants team this season, and just really grateful for your dedication to positive coaching and for making a difference in players' lives like our Junior Giants. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate Positive Coaching Alliance. I see we have our next special guest who just joined us. We have with us our Giants Manager Gabe Kapler. And so he's here to address our Junior Giants coaches and answer some questions that we had submitted as well. So first, I just want to say thank you to Gabe for his involvement with Junior Giants. He's a big contributor to our Junior Giants program. And Gabe, we have a lot of excited coaches tuning in on Facebook right now, and they're excited to hear from you. So thanks for being here.
Nicole, thanks for having me, and hello to all the coaches on this call and everybody else that's joining us. It's an honor to be a part of the Junior Giants program, and this is just kind of a good opportunity to talk about what coaching means to me, and some of the coaches that have had a major impact in my life. And I thought I'd start by sharing what I think the number one factor is for making an impact for young people. It's just believing them, quite simply. I think we all need people in our lives that believe in us, and especially when we're not at our best mentally. So I was going to share, Nicole, if it's all right, a story from my time playing for the Tampa Bay Rays. Joe Madden was the manager at the time, and he made a pretty important impact in my life by believing in me. And this was at a time when I didn't think I was a great baseball player. It was later in my career. It's kind of feeling like I was at the tail end, and maybe I didn't have quite as much left to offer. And a couple of days in a row, I came to the ballpark, and Joe Madden had put me in the 3-hole in the lineup when I didn't really feel like I belonged in the 3-hole. And he told me that the reason that he put me in the 3-hole is against left-handed pitching, I was as good as any player out there. And so I knew that I was pretty good against lefties, but he actually told me that, and at the time, some of the best hitters against lefties in the league were guys like Albert Pujols. And he said that against left-handed pitching, not against righties, but just against lefties, I was like having Albert Pujols in the lineup. And whether he was telling me the truth or not, he made me feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Like I was the most important person on the roster that day. And I'll never forget that in a time when I wasn't necessarily believing in myself, I had a well-established manager at the major league level putting me in the 3-hole and believing in me. And I could go back and talk about some of the times as a child, as a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, when coaches, even in rec league, have the same level of impact. So I know all the coaches on this call today, it's a tremendous opportunity right in front of you to make a big difference in the lives of the kids that you're coaching. So that's my main message, is just show these kids that you believe in them, and they're going to make the world a better place as a result. And that's pretty much what I have. And again, a lot of gratitude for having me here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. If you're up for it, we have a couple questions that came in from our coaches. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with the first one that came in was, obviously it's great to have a player with good balance, but is it more important for a coach to have a player who is coachable or one who has enormous talent but difficult to mentor / inspire?
I'll often tell our coaches that our job is not to coach the easy turnkey guys, right? We don't make our money working with a player that's got a great attitude, that shows up every day with the best work ethic. And I could share a lot of examples. I mean, maybe the one that is most familiar to Giants fans out there is Wilmer Flores, who just comes up, prepares himself every day, doesn't require a whole lot of coaching. And then whether he's in the lineup or not, he's the same dude every single day, always ready for any situation. And then he goes out and he performs very well. So we don't make our money with the players that are like that. We're actually not coaching all that much with those players. But the ones who need that kind of special attention, the ones that might not have the work ethic in place yet, or who might need more of a tune-up on a daily basis from just a mental perspective, like a mental health perspective, that's where we really make the big impact in coaching. So I guess for our jobs, it's to be better, tuning people up, and it's really the person, not as much as the player. It's the human being, and making them the best that they can be.
Great. That's a lot of what Aaron from PCA was just covering too. So thanks for reiterating that for us.
Sure.
Okay, so the next one that came in, they said, would love for Cap to share what the most important goals are for a junior Giants coach. Also, best methods for getting the team's attention during practice and how to promote teamwork. Thanks, Junior Giants, and thanks, Cap.
I was going to start with an Instagram reel, and it actually it's made its way around TikTok as well, of a coach at the college level who continually addressed his team after games like they weren't human. Sort of yelled at them, berated them, and put them in a place where they had to sort of respond in a way where the coach was above the players. So I personally believe that's not the best way to get the most out of people over a long period of time. So I mean, my message to junior Giants coaches is let players enjoy their time on the baseball field. Be a part of them enjoying that time on the baseball field. Make it fun for them so they want to come back and they want to compete. Create that competition in a really healthy way, and give them an opportunity to make it seem like a game all the time. We want to make our practices, even now at the major league level, feel like a game. Like these guys are just out there having fun. Sometimes we'll even tell our players, hey, if you could go up to the plate and put yourself in a frame of mind where you're just playing wiffle ball in the backyard, we think you're going to be really good at your job if you do that. So just taking that a step further is just really instilling in players that it's not life and death, especially at the youth level. It's all about enjoying yourself. When you're enjoying yourself, you're going to work harder. To some degree or another, you may even take baseball a little bit more seriously because you love it. So that would be my messaging, and stay away from that archetype that's hammering people down, because it's just not the best way to make young players better.
Great, thank you. Okay, our last question here is, what is the number one lesson you hope your players learn from you?
I hope the number one lesson they learn from me is, we're people first and baseball players second. And when we're in the clubhouse, if we treat each other, and this is true between the lines as well. If we treat each other like people first and baseball players second, we're still going to get the most out of our ability. You don't lose anything by respecting the people around you. So I hope to lead by example, not like by standing up in front of the group and sending that message, but just by treating people with respect in the clubhouse and on the field. And that doesn't require going over the top and being saccharine. It just requires, treating people the way you would want to be treated, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings before we're athletes.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us on your off day. Thank you for all you do for Junior Giants. And thanks for being such a great example for all of our Junior Giants coaches and players. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. And for everyone on Facebook, we have one more thing that we want you guys to do. If you have not signed up to volunteer yet, you'll see a QR code on the screen there. Please sign up to volunteer to be a coach or be a team parent. I hope you learned through today's call about all the resources that are provided for you and how big of an impact you can make on our Junior Giants lives. So download the Junior Giants app. You can also see there how to become a certified CAPS coach and earn a backpack. And you can see your practice plans on there. And don't forget to attend your league's volunteer meeting and coaches clinic if you haven't. So thanks so much. Have a great season and go Junior Giants.